Reverend Jackson, thank you for joining us.
Yes, sir.
Talk about Ted Kennedy tonight and the role he's played in the Kennedy saga.
You know that in the extension of his own family's legacy, while many leaders try to dip out in the ocean with the bucket, he helped to carve out a canal. He helped to change the course of American history. The Civil Rights Bill of 1964 ended legal regional racial apartheid in our country. And Dr. King gave the address in Washington in 1963 from Texas to Florida to Maryland. People of color can use a single public toilet. Our money was counterfeited. We could not buy ice cream at Howard Johnson's. He changed all of that and faced, of course, great retribution for it. Also, in some senses, poetic that August 28th, 1955, Emmett Till killed. August 28th, 1963, Dr. King dreaming of honoring the promise. August 28th, 2008, President Barack Obama received a nomination in Denver with Mr. Kennedy present. And the day August 28th, 2009, he's laid to rest. What a journey and what poetry.
Let me ask you about what's left as unfinished liberal business in this country. What are your expectations about the liberal agenda right now, especially, well, right down the middle, health care? It has always been on the agenda, starting back in the 40s. It's still on the agenda. It's top on the agenda now. You've watched the course of history, the ups and downs, the false starts, the successes. Where's this stand?
But you know, it's interesting you use kind of liberal conservative. You look back now, the Public Accommodation Bill, the right to vote, Title IX for women, American Disabilities Act. These were not liberal. These were the moral center. The reason he prevailed ultimately was he embraced the moral center. We now look back and no one disagrees with the 64 Civil Rights Act or the Voting Rights Act or women's right to vote. And so today the big issue is, of course, is reviving a tragic crisis in our economy and the comprehensive health care bill. It's interesting that his brothers died rather tragically and so suddenly with those assassinations. He lived out the building of that canal. And here we are today. In his last year, he preached his own eulogy, choosing to embrace President Barack Obama as a signature statement from Selma to the White House, as it were. His affirmation of his vote against a war that had no sound basis in his position, his fight for a comprehensive health care bill to include all of Americans. And one of the things that made him distinguished was he reached back for the poor in ways no one ever had who was so wealthy and exalted them to a higher level. So I think the signature issue today is both the economic revival and the health bill, or the health bill that will ultimately come forth. I hope that America will appreciate that last struggle and honor it in some way.
Reverend Jackson, it's Keith Olbermann at this end. I'm wondering if you, given that Senator Kennedy said before his passing that there was no time for further partial measures on health care reform, given the roster of accomplishments of the senator's 47 years nearly in the Senate, was it a whole? Did he view this, do you think, as another part, health reform, as another part of this continual battle that he seemed to be spearheading against whoever might be discriminated against, that it wasn't necessarily a color issue, a gender issue, an orientation issue, a poverty issue. It's whoever was getting the short stick in society was the person he was going to stick up for. Did you see it that way?
Yeah, because he believed that we live in our faith, we live under the law. America, a nation of laws, not the privileges. And so the right to vote, the right to access to open housing, the right to health care. He believed that those who are left out of protection, those who die much too early and not serve sufficient because they are poor, whether they're in Appalachia or whether they're returning veterans, he believed that the health care is a right for all Americans as a moral obligation. I must say the thing that impressed me the most about him coming out of jail many years ago, maybe around 63 or 64 in North Carolina, I heard him and his brother on radio. Now, I never heard this before in South Carolina. He said that ending the battles for the South reconciliation is not just about law, it's a moral right. That sense of morality and the law is the line he walked really for those 47 years.
Okay, thank you very much, the Reverend Jesse Jackson, who's so much a part of this Kennedy history.